Thank you for joining us wherever you are. This podcast episode is brought to you by the Old Ways Actual Play team. This actual play uses the 7th edition Call of Cthulhu tabletop role-playing game rules by Chaosium. This actual play is performed by adults and in an adult setting. While we try very hard to stick to languages for all ages, listeners should know that this podcast may include mature themes. All content, including names, places, events, companies, and etc., that may bear resemblance to entities living or dead, is strictly coincidental. My name is Michael Dent, and for tonight's game, I will be your keeper. Thank you for joining us again in another episode of the Old Ways podcast. I'm your keeper, Michael, and we return to Masks of Nyarlathotep. In our transitional chapters, we are making our way across France. We have stopped in Paris, and if last episode was any guess at what might happen tonight, we're going to hope that we don't have any bouts of madness. So we need to get into our introductions to let you know who's here and who's playing with us tonight, and I will begin to my right.
This is Tiffany. I play Meave O'Shea, and it wasn't me.
Not this time. To Miss O'Shea's right.
This is Morgan. I play Lillian Lane, and I apparently did something wrong last episode.
I mean, right, wrong is a little bit of... There's some gray areas there.
With some nakedness.
Partially. It's not wrong to be naked. You weren't, no. And to be fair to Miss Lane, you were not naked.
True.
You were in your undergarments. We made that clear.
Mm.
And it was made clear to everybody at the Balmoral Hotel as well. Mm-hmm. So at the end of the table.
This is Jake. I'll be playing Jack Doyle. And apparently I have to go around and intervene with the paparazzi on Miss Lane's behalf.
You know, you are becoming quickly the parent of this group, I think, and that could be concerning depending upon your perspective, but you're making sure that Inspector Barrington doesn't find out about the crazy shit that went on at the Misser house, and now you're like pulling, Miss Lane off of the bar and trying to keep her wits about her somehow in this crazed portion of the story. It's great.
I do what I can.
And last but most certainly not least.
This is James. I'll be playing Dr. Sigmund Tattenbach. And so far, Paris has been nice and uneventful. Very calming and relaxing. I approve.
Yes, and so do all of the nearby liquor cabinets.
Yeah.
So we'll raise the curtain tonight on our story in Paris. We've all had a rather eventful day. It has now fallen to night. And much like happened just a few hours ago, the sun rises on Paris in the morning again. You were given a tip the last time you went drinking, Jack. And that is that there was this woman, her name is Marie, and supposedly she'd seen something?
Yes, this man creature.
Yes, this beast of Paris, this catacombs that's been cut loose on the city is supposedly gobbling people up. The papers you're finding this morning over the past few days are rife with stories about a creature that walks upon all fours, that has been gobbling children up. There's a lot of sensationalization that's probably going on with it, but there are a couple of, just from your trained detective eye, there are a couple of bits of these statements from people that the way they talk reminds you kind of some of your old detective gears that, okay, this person is, they're properly upset. They're not, it's not just,
right. They saw something.
Yes. Maybe it wasn't what they say that was, but that person saw something. And so the detective in you gets spun up a little bit this morning over morning coffee.
So is it just me, or is...
I would say by now it is likely at least the three of you. Undoubtedly, Miss O'Shea is probably lounging on her terrace trying to stay warm in the morning.
Sunning herself.
Something like that, yes. Let's assume that Miss Lane and the doctor are at the table. Doctor, you've seen to your patient a bit. Late last night, had another series of conversations with him, and it seems that he is beginning to come around a little bit more.
Starting to break through the shell a little.
It does seem so. Although you have a bit of a bruise here on the side of your face.
Yeah.
From something he left you.
Oh, fantastic. I come out, kind of rubbing the side of my head a little bit, and out onto the landing, I assume, or common room. Guten Morgen, all.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning, Miss Lane. How are you feeling this morning?
Still sore from wherever I got these lacerations from. But I'm feeling much better than I was yesterday. Thank you.
Wunderbar.
You feeling up for a little investigation?
Oh, anything to get my mind off of the incident from yesterday.
I believe the doctor has a lead for us.
Actually, I do. Yeah, you're right here. I slide the address over to Jack and Lillian.
We met somebody who has a friend that apparently saw something.
Great. Did I get the paper this morning, Mike?
Yes, you did.
Is there anything in there, since, reading French and all, is there anything in there that pertains to the incidents that have been happening?
Yes, actually. There's a story in about page 5 or so, about halfway down. It's pretty well buried. But there's another report of this strange man-beast. They're calling it the Beast of the Catacombs, or the Beast of Paris in some of these other stories. And it's supposedly has consumed 2 children to date, and 2 to 3 pets, 1 cat, and then a dog or 2.
Is there in the article, does it talk about a location where it's generally being seen at?
It's been seen around the Catacombs of Paris, the entrance to them.
Okay.
And there's a fair amount of space there. So the catacombs are fairly large. Obviously, they're underground, but there is an entrance area, and then there are several streets and alleys where people who live close to there have reportedly seen it.
Okay. I relayed the information in the article to Jack and the doctor, and let them know that that apparently this beast has taken 2 children and some pets.
It has taken more than that. Apparently, the woman that we are going to be speaking to this morning saw it perhaps eating a human hand. Yeah, so that is something that we must,
Well, if it's killing people, it might be killing vagrants, transients, that kind of thing.
It's entirely possible. But it
And
also
children. And
children.
children.
If it is killing children.
Right.
Also, it is coming from the catacombs, which will have no shortage of hands, I would assume.
Well, they're probably all, skeletal and stuff. Probably not a lot of good eating there.
Perhaps, but... perhaps.
I don't know.
In Chicago, there is places where the bad people get rid of bodies.
Oh, right. They just dump.
Well,
Yeah,
perhaps.
okay, that makes sense.
Well, once we interview, did you say that her name was Marie?
Yes.
Yeah.
No,
Maybe
we didn't,
we might.
but yeah.
You didn't. You didn't say her name was Marie. All right. Well, pretend. It's in Bird. Gosh darn it.
Well, it's French, so it's like Marie or...
Marie. Maybe we should interview some of the individuals in the neighborhood around the catacombs.
Sure, well, we'll talk to this Marie first, and then we'll move on to the others, or other people.
Okay. That sounds good.
So the Paris catacombs are... Well, they're down the river from you for sure. So you're going to have to go down the Seine, and then at some point you're going to have to basically turn south, and then you'll want to either take a taxi or something like that, because it's a little far from your hotel.
Yeah, that's fine. We'll take a taxi.
Okay.
We'll take a taxi to Marie's address first.
It's actually not far. It's probably about 4 or 5 blocks from the address she gave the doctors, about 4 or 5 blocks from the Paris catacombs.
Oh, yeah, well, that makes sense. It'd be weird if it was halfway across the city.
It indeed would be a little strange. Yes. Paris is quite wonderful in February here. It has, over the past couple of days, warmed a little bit. It's warmed a little bit, temperature-wise, and so there isn't as much of a crisp sense to the air anymore. You know that by March, by the mid-March here, Jack, it'll probably get to the point where most people will be in the more temperate zone. People will be a little bit more comfortable throughout the early morning.
It's hard to believe how much stuff has happened to us in the last 2 months.
Feels like it's been a lot longer
I know,
than
right?
a lot. It feels like it's been a lot longer than 2 months.
Yeah, I mean, when you think back, it was January when you got the telegram in Chicago, and it feels like 2 years have passed. But if you head out that way, I assume the 3 of you were going together?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. If you head out that way, you'll locate Marie's flat. It is definitely it's definitely not in the greatest financial position, but it is I mean, it could be worse. It's not a complete slum. There are some areas in the north and east portion of Paris that are really, really bad, politically speaking, too. So, fascists and basically the Parisian version of black shirts that run some of the streets. And that could be a bit of a dicey area. But this specific area is not as bad. So you find her location there. She is a bit south of the catacombs. What are you? Let's see. It's probably an 8-story building. It looks like a big apartment block that's been built here, and it goes up a fair ways, and you see that there are children out front, and there's people selling all manner of trades goods, and there's a little market stall or two that have been set up nearby that deal with vegetables and breads. You get a very Chicago, New Yorkish neighborhood to feel to it.
I say we let Miss Lane do the talking. She speaks French, and it's probably less intimidating to a single woman for her to be doing it.
Jack, I got perhaps this is just an impression I have, but the waitress last night made sure that I knew that Marie would be busy all last night and until the early morning. The way she said it made me perhaps think that her occupation is not on their legal up and up, if you will.
No. Mm.
Yeah, so you're not actually sure of the legality of...
in France, I mean, they have many, but...
At this time, they're likely a lot more progressive, but the question would be is... I think the doctor would probably still err on the side of caution, just because you don't want to criminalize her if you don't have to.
Exactly.
You might not want to criminalize her at all, actually.
Treat her nice.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And not intimidating, so definitely Miss Lane should be speaking.
Okay. So the apartments that go up, long sets of stairways that wind on up. It looks like Marie's flat is on the 6th floor. As you go up, you see a series of extended families that kind of park things in the hallway, and you see a bevy of cats that run in and out of each floor of the complex, seem to be darting in and out. By the time you get to the 6th floor, you have probably passed at least 2 to 3 sets of grandparents that are sitting out, in chairs and whatnot, reading the morning paper and looking after small children while parents are likely working. You see a couple of magazines here that are a little revolutionary. A couple of...
some leftist stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of the fervor of the revolution still simmers here in Paris. And there's one here, Miss Lane, that you read in pretty direct language that talks about that the people's struggle is not over. And it kind of calls the Parisian people to arms to take the government and make it the people's government. And then you get to Marie's door. It's about probably 10 o'clock by the time you get down there.
Okay. I lightly knock on the door.
You hear a calm voice from inside. Un momento. And then probably just about a minute or so later, you watch as the door opens and you see a dark-haired Parisian woman. She's probably no taller than, say, 5'4", 5'5". Very attractive. And she opens the door and she seems to be almost kind of pushing something behind her. You can see that she's opened the door with her left hand, Jack, and she's shielding something back with her right. Oui?
Hi, obviously in French, or I ask her if she speaks English.
Yeah, parlez-vous anglais?
Hi, are you Marie?
Yes.
I'm sorry for bothering you so early in the morning. My friends and I here are investigating the issues surrounding the catacombs, and we were hoping we could speak with you. We heard you might have witnessed this creature.
She kind of steps back a little from the door, and you see the door waver a little bit, like almost as if she's considering shutting the door.
You are not in trouble, and we're not here to cause any trouble. We want to help.
There is no... You cannot help. This... What I saw is unmistakable. It's unbelievable.
Ma'am, I'll take my hat off, and we're investigators. We hunt down things like this.
Hunt?
Yes.
Like geese?
Well, a little more dangerous than geese, but
the process is the same, yes.
You see her shoot a look your way, like reacting to your voice and accent.
We want to make sure that everybody is safe and that, no children are harmed.
What do you need?
We just want to talk to you about what you saw and where you saw it, because we are getting conflicting reports of what people are seeing.
She holds up her hand just as almost in a cautionary method, and she says something in French to the room behind her. You think she says something to the effect of, go to your room, in a relatively soft tone. And then after a few moments, you hear another door inside the apartment close, and she opens the door. Come and sit. I will tell you what I can.
Thank you.
After you come in, she looks out in the hallway and then shuts the door. Would you like some tea?
That would be great. Thank you.
She
No,
goes
thank
in.
you.
You see her kind of step into a relatively meager kitchen. She begins boiling water. She comes back in the room and sits down. You see that the curtains are open to let the sun in, and it almost seems like there's a haze here. She picks up a fresh cigarette and lights it, opens the window. You can feel the air shift a bit in the room here.
Is that the window you saw it from?
No. She nods towards the wall from my bedroom.
So, could you tell us what you saw in your own words?
A few nights ago, I was coming back from a long walk. And I had heard some movement in the alleyway by the building there. I wasn't sure. I still can't be sure what the sound it made. Have you ever heard a dog break a bone with its teeth?
Yeah.
It was like that, but the crushing sound, I could hear it from the street. And so I thought, I better get inside. I thought maybe there was a wild dog. Or worse. I'd heard the stories that printed in the papers. And I have friends, they talk about these things. I got to my room. I had just gotten into my clothes for bed, and I was having a cigarette before I went to sleep. And I saw this thing. I thought it was a dog, but then it howled. And I've never heard a dog howl like that. It was like I think it might have been like a wolf. But it was too big. And there was no tail. And it chased something across the street. And I watched it move on all fours, and someone said it might have been a bear, but there are no bears in Paris. And I tell you this, it was not furry. No, really. A furless bear? She exhales. I don't believe it.
Has any of your neighbors saw the creature, or do you know of anybody else that saw the creature?
No. My neighbors are in bed by the time I get home.
Okay. Is there any other... Do you know of anybody that was taken by this creature?
I do know that there's a butcher down the street. And he said that something had gotten into his refuse and had ripped apart a bunch of bags that had old bones in them and things that he didn't use.
Thank you for that information.
Yeah, I don't know how much more. I mean, that's all you saw was the sound, and then from your window there.
Yeah, the butcher there, Theodore, he's just down the street.
How long ago was this happened?
3 days.
3 days? All right.
I can still hear it, you know. The sound.
The breaking bone.
A howl.
Or the howl.
That's unmistakable.
I give her the name of the hotel that we're staying at, to let her know if she wants to contact us. If she has any more information, to please contact us.
See that she's a little taken aback at the hotel.
All moral.
We do appreciate you talking to us, and I promise you we will find this creature. I'm sure you. I mean, we want to make sure your child is safe and that you are safe.
She kind of gives you a knowing look. Nothing will come between my child and me.
I understand.
You have children?
Someday. But I feel the same way about my friends.
That we are children.
She
smiles instead.
She seems to struggle a smile, but she does so.
that I would protect you with my life.
Well, thank you for your time, miss.
You're welcome. She stands up and walks you to the door. You guys leave shortly thereafter.
I'm going to go down to the alley.
Okay. You go down to the alley?
Mm-hmm.
What you doing?
Well, first I'm going to look up, about the 6th floor. It's a long ways.
It is, but the room she pointed to does have a small terrace, so if she was out there, she'd have the vantage point. And 6 floors, yeah, it'd probably be a little blurry. But if it was human sized, then there's a halfway chance that she
probably she saw something.
That's pretty clear.
Yeah. So then I'm going to see if I can find some kind of evidence. Maybe the cracking bone. Maybe the bone's still out here. Maybe there's some prints.
Why don't you give me a spot hidden roll as you search the alleyway?
Are we with him?
That's 23 under 99.
I would assume that you were with him, yes.
Okay, I got a 41 out of 88.
Okay.
33 under 80, so that's a
Yes,
hard, but not an extreme.
All hard successes.
Yep.
So the three of you search a Parisian alleyway. You search it for probably about 35 minutes until, Doctor, you uncover a joint and top of a femur. This is likely to a cow. Too big to be human.
With the marks on it?
Oh, yeah.
Can I have a medicine roll to figure out the rough shape of the jaw that chewed on this bone?
Sure, you'll need paper and ink, but yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll take it with me. I wrap it in a piece of newspaper from
Sure.
somewhere nearby and tuck it under my arm like a baguette or a piece of cookie faux. And
Does he know that? Does the doctor tell us that it's from a cow?
The doctor hasn't said anything just yet. He's picked something up, that's for sure.
Okay.
I found a bone.
What kind of bone is it? Are you touching that with your bare hands?
Yeah, it's just a
Yeah,
bone.
I'm the doctor. Step one, I touch things.
I look at the bandages on my arm.
The feet.
He washes his hands.
Are we sure?
Well,
Maybe.
That wasn't created
Well,
until
it is
1931,
I would
actually.
say this is the 20s. He's probably not. So, what is that from? Is that human?
This is not a human. It is far too large to be human. This is bovine, most likely. Or perhaps
probably pulled it out of a
horse,
butcher's.
perhaps?
Yeah.
I don't know. It could be equine, but I do believe it to be bovine.
Yeah, they do eat horse in France.
Yeah.
So we should go talk to the butcher
Yeah, we should.
and then the baker,
And the candlestick maker.
the candlestick maker.
We can talk about that here.
That's not.
We'll
that-
Whilst they go talk to the butcher, they don't need 3 people walking into this butchery shop at the same time. I'm just going to go to a nearby shop.
To stick up.
Yep.
Yep.
And case that joint. So
Right.
while they're done, they're done at the
right,
butcher's,
right.
we can drop some other place efficiently.
Let's split up. We can do more damage that way.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
perfect.
But before you do that, we're going to go to Miss O'Shea because she's been patiently waiting to do something. So the morning starts this morning, the second day in Paris, much like the last one did, and that is with an even warmer temperature found on your terrace. It is truly inviting, and you've realized that if you wait just maybe 5 or 10 more minutes, the marble is a little bit warmer. And so you get this kind of beautiful temperature zone out there. You need a robe for sure. But this isn't half bad.
Yeah, I probably spend most of my morning out there and reading my book that I haven't finished.
Which book?
The Book of Iban.
It will be some time before you finish that tome.
Right. So,
But you are beginning to make headway through that.
And then I'll probably, let's see. Lillian's gone, right? Because she's not in my room.
Yes, that's correct.
And then if I go downstairs and I don't see the boys,
Nope.
then I'll just walk in the sunshine, I guess. I'll probably wear something fairly dark to, get more heat.
Sure.
When will my robe be?
You're not sure. You only dropped it off yesterday morning, so you'd have to either call the shop or you'd have to kind of wait for them to contact you.
Okay. Well, then I'm not going to be rude. I mean, I want to be, but I'm not going to be.
You are a little inquisitive about the necklace. You talked to yourself last night that you were going to get to it after you did the other things. And you realize now that your time with Alexandra isn't until much later tonight.
Mm-hmm.
And while, yes, you have the book, this Ankh is an unknown thing.
Yeah, I also know it's bad. Like, it's one thing if I, don't know for sure, but I have an inkling, then I might mess with it. Okay. Yeah, I guess I'll, pull it out and look at it.
There it is.
Yeah.
Literally.
Ugh.
So to our community at large, the Ankh is a physical item we have here.
What is it made out of?
It appears to be made out of some sort of strange metal. Yes, and so even your idea of burning it is likely not going to work. At least not without a really hot fire.
Well, I'm going to... I imagine that, Lillian has nicer jewelry and probably has, those velvet bags to keep stuff in.
Sure.
I'm gonna take her jewelry out and put the Ankh in so nobody can look at it. And,
You take her jewelry out. You're over at her station. It's got a lot of her bottles and whatnot, and fragrance lotions and all the things. And she's got, you see a copy of, the local paper here. She seems to have been investigating something on it. What is your French at?
you never told me. You
So
just
if it's
told
starting
me.
out, it's probably 10%.
Yeah, well, because she tutored me so I
Right.
can read it.
So you read some of it. When you transfer the stuff out of the bag and have this necklace in your hand, every bit of that French newspaper is readable by you.
Yeah, it really wants me to hold on to it.
Like every bit of it. And even as you kind of stop and look at it, you realize that there are a selection of just common everyday books on the bookshelf in here. Most of them are in French. There are a few selections that are in English. There are a few, you think, if your brain is right, that are written in German. You don't speak German, but you understand what that book's title is.
Well, while I have it, actually, I'm going to read the parchment that I have that's in Arabic.
Okay. You mean the parchment you got when you pulled from that Jack pulled from the apartment? Or
Yes.
because that one's in hieroglyphics.
Oh, that one's in hieroglyphics. It's the one that Lillian got that's in Arabic.
Correct. Which one?
The one that's in Arabic.
Oh, yeah. It's readable.
Okay.
It really isn't until you get to maybe the third or fourth line in the scroll that your brain starts to kind of wrap around what's going on. And there's something there. You don't understand how it's possible, but all of that Arabic, as you read it, is transformed in front of you into understandable text.
Yeah, but that's not my deity. So, I guess I will get whatever information I can from both scrolls, and then I'm going to put it away.
So, the scrolls themselves they're fairly in-depth. It would take you a little bit of time to completely read through, but I can give you a bit of a summation on one of them if you would like.
Sure.
So just pick a path for me.
Arabic.
Okay. And that will be from
Gavigan's office.
the Misser House. Yep. So it is titled Song of the Jinn.
Okay.
It seems that this work is... The scroll itself is made from what you think is maybe some sort of animal skin. It's not paper by any means. It talks about a being of scorching fire. It talks about it with a rapturous love of this being. And it seems maybe a little bit fanciful.
Does it after we've seen that deck of that boat? Oh, he said lightning, though. That guy said lightning. Okay.
The scroll is pretty well in depth. So it's not just a single page. It's a scroll with several sheets to it. It'll take you a while to unwind what all it says. While not as deep as maybe the Book of Ibon. It probably, unless you're going to do a skim today of it, then you can have a roll.
Yeah, I'm just going to skim it because I don't want to use this Ankh any more than I have to.
All right, very good. Roll sanity.
Roll sanity?
Yes.
Here comes the madness.
You're skimming a mythos artifact.
Oh.
If your sanity's asleep, better give it a nudge. Everybody look out, because here come the judge.
That would be 8 out of 61.
Awesome. You lose 2 points of sanity. You gain a point of Cthulhu Mythos. And the determination that you make is, at least in the short run today, the determination you make is that this scroll summons beings of flame. And that they have the ability to draw upon a power bigger than themselves. And their intent is to destroy a mystical artifact, a specific one. It's some sort of crown. And it looks like there's a working in here. Like there is a spell you could discern and learn at a given time. And now I want you to make me a power roll. Hard difficulty.
No.
No.
Yeah, 86 out of 65.
You come to a conclusion after spending a majority of the day sunning yourself reading this esoteric, almost fanciful tale of this powerful fireworking. It's pretty clear that this artifact, this thing, has come to you for a specific reason. And it's clear because you're the only one that can handle it. There's a reason why Miss Lane dropped it into your chest. It's because she's not prepared for it. And it really isn't until you get towards the end of it that you realize that that voice in your head isn't your own. And the only problem you're having is that it's not wrong. And so, the rest of you continue on with your investigation. You are sizing up a butcher. And so Jack, where were you headed first then?
To the butcher.
All right, Theodore the Butcher. A small shop, not but maybe half a block down, give or take. It's a shotgun-style building, something you're somewhat familiar with from your days in Chicago. It looks like there is a single counter. There are several different meats here that are being dried. There's a handful of customers here picking up items in brown butcher paper and then dealing with. It looks like he has maybe a son or a nephew or something that's helping run the store. Maybe 12, 13 years old at most. Theodore himself seems to be a rather a well-fed man of Paris. His apron is sullied with whatever he was working on last. A butcher who seems to be deft with both the fillet knife for fish or the butcher chop when it comes to larger pieces.
He better be. Butcher can't handle both. Anyhow, when I get a chance.
Jack can lead the questioning for this. I just am
hopefully he
with
speaks
him.
English. If not, then you have to lead the questioning.
That's true.
He wipes his hand off with a pretty gross-looking rag and puts it back on the table.
Just picturing him wiping his hand with a steak.
Sorry. This is the same table he likely just finished chopping food on.
Yeah, well, whatever.
Yes. Come forward. You hear him say.
Pardon moi. Do you speak English?
Oui.
We were told that you might know something about the beast.
Beast?
The catacombs.
Oh, I thought you meant my wife. He winks at you, Miss Lane.
I chuckle.
Paris beast. This thing in the paper. Yes, this creature that's supposedly eating children.
Yeah.
Complete farce. It's a wives' tale. It's something to keep the children in line.
Well, I heard that you had something going through your refuse.
Yes, likely the poor and degenerate people of Paris who unfortunately cannot feed themselves. I mean, I feed many vagrants and members of the community who are less than lucky.
That's very noble of you.
It's the right thing to do.
I appreciate that. I had been told that you had some issues with somebody really tearing through your bags, pulling out bones and...
Well, a couple of days ago, I think we had some dogs that got into one of the refuse containers back there. They ripped apart a bag or two. And yes, they went through, and we had just had some fresh meat in that day from one of the local farms, and they got into a few pieces.
Did you have any cow bones in there?
Oui.
A femur?
Well, soup bones, you know, things of that nature.
Do dogs usually, can they break a soup bone like that?
I suppose it wouldn't matter how hungry the dog is, yeah?
Well, we just happened to find one in an alley down here that was cracked open.
After a few minutes, I enter the butcher shop and completely ignore Jack and Lillian. I don't even know them.
Like I kind of glance and over at the doctor and
I
just
stand at the other end of the...
You see a young boy come over.
Guten Tag. I would like one porterhouse, please.
He nods. He goes over and you see a kid, probably 11, 12 years old. Likely has no business wielding a butchering weapon such as large as this, but he, with a deft and trained hand, begins cutting into and preparing your choice piece of meat. You see Theodore kind of look over at the boy and then look back at you.
Yes, we were just kind of looking into the whole situation, trying to put people's minds at ease. And if we had any information we thought might come in handy.
Well, it took me a good part of the morning to clean up the mess this thing made. So whether it was a dog or whether it was a few dogs, I don't know, but I haven't heard it since.
Did you see any tracks out there?
No, I mean, the alley is pretty heavily trafficked. The people leaving the housing nearby.
Are you would you mind showing us where these bags were ripped into at?
Mademoiselle, if you want to go into the dumpster behind the business, feel free.
It's just in the dump. So they had to open the dumpster to get into the bags.
I mean, anyone could have gotten them open beforehand.
But it was inside of a canister or something, like the bags were, or were the bags just sitting in the alley open?
No, it was in the dumpster there.
Well, perhaps we should go take a look.
We'll take a look.
Yeah.
There's one more thing you could do for me. I'll give him a few francs. Could you wrap up a small assortment of meat and send it to this address? Marie's address.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Give her something for her help.
Of course. He begins collecting an assortment of probably probably beef, but also likely fish and...
Yeah, whatever.
Sure. Doctor, you get your steak?
I pay for it. Dankeschön. I tip my hat to him and politely tip my hat to them on my way out and go outside, walk around the corner, and wait for them to come out.
Okay. They come out at some point.
My butcher's bag that's all bloody.
We meet him around the corner. Doctor, what were you doing?
I am buying bait. When you catch a dog, you buy meat.
Oh my gosh. I thought we would use Jack as bait.
Yeah.
Not again. We promised him we wouldn't do that anymore.
Should we go around the corner and take a look and...
Yeah.
So
did you have to get a steak? Can you get something a little cheaper?
Yeah.
I could have, but I paid for it. I don't.
Okay.
And besides, I don't think I'm going to use the whole thing. It's a very sizable steak.
You could
Actually, it's
cook
quite
half
good.
of it for yourself. So here's the odd thing, Jack, is that dogs, regular dog. Well, or I don't know. They're gonna climb into the.
Somebody else could have gotten left open, or let's check it out. Let's see what we find.
You guys are going to go investigate it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So this portion of the alleyway here is pretty well trapped off from most foot traffic. There is a pathway that leads nearby here, but to get into this area behind the business, it's gated off. Actually, quite a bit like the Spice Shop back alleyway was. So you'd have to
intimately familiar with this.
You'd have to either know that this one isn't locked; it's all open, but you'd still have to physically open the gates to get in here.
I'm going to get my lighter out so we can start this building on fire too.
Slowly reach
We're
over.
not there yet.
Flip the butcher's sign from open to closed and lock the door. Click.
It's in the Juju house.
You head over to the area behind the business and you see the aforementioned dumpster.
Yeah, I'll start checking out. I'll look around it first and see if I can find anything. You know what keeps coming to mind, don't you? As we investigate this, the ghouls.
Mm-hmm.
I am agreeing. Yeah, it is sounding very much like what we heard in.
She left.
The Nays, right? It was,
no,
it was.
You're
There could be
talking
other
about
Darby.
Darby. Thank you. Yes, in Darby.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if there is one, there will definitely be
not
more.
necessarily. But this is, we don't even know if this thing's real or not.
Oh, absolutely. It could be a dog.
So you guys get into this back area and you begin to search. So if you would like, how long are you spending?
I let them do it. I'm holding meat, so I'm kind of acting at lookout at the edge of the alleyway.
Probably a half hour or
Look out.
so.
Stop standing there holding your meat.
Someone has to, and since we've gotten to Paris, no one else has offered.
I've got a 49 out of 88 for spot hidden.
Okay.
I have a 1.
Okay.
What?
Yeah.
One. You search through this portion of the business, the back door, the gate, obviously the dumpster area. And Jack, you find a couple of things. One, there are some fairly deep gouges in the wood covering that covered the dumpster. Something akin to like
Claws.
a shovel.
Oh.
Like the pointy end of a shovel would make this. There's some things that have dug in underneath the lid itself, like the wood underneath. And then on the sides of this dumpster, there are definite impressions on the side as if something grabbed it, because there's multiple indentations.
Something strong.
And the more and more you continue to look at it, it continues to remind you of Eloise.
Yeah, I'll put my hand up to it to get a kind of an idea what kind of hands.
It's your size are a little bigger.
Okay. So I want to do is tangle with another ghoul, but
On the upside, if we do, at least we've already handled one once, and there'll be no
Right.
surprises. Assuming.
But what if it's Eloise? We don't know where she went. We could be scared and hungry and just not know what to do with herself, or losing herself.
yeah.
Or conversely, we find someone who has not the mental willpower of Eloise, and someone who has succumbed to their bestial nature completely,
right.
which would be extremely dangerous. So we must be ready for this.
I'm not sure how to dispatch of a ghoul like that. They were Kate, the one that I encountered.
Medically speaking, most things in nature can be dispatched in the same way.
Well,
It's not that they can't be
They're just
dealt
really
with.
difficult. Because I shot one. I shot, I think, Eloise several times.
Yep. And she kept going.
Yeah.
There's a reason for that.
Yeah.
It's not a story reason. It's a ghoul
Mechanic,
reason.
yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's the impression. The impression you're getting from this dumpster is that something ghoul size was likely in here. And if it's scratching and there's cuts here and meat is missing and there's howling, something got let loose on the streets of Paris.
Mm-hmm. Right now, we'll work off of the running theory that it's a ghoul. If we find something that changes that, then we change with it.
Act with the information we have until we get new information.
Yeah.
It sounds good to me. That is how I like to do everything. Obviously, we have this meat here as bait. Now, I'm thinking perhaps finding a location where we can get into the catacombs. Not going into the catacombs, but smelling the entrance. Yeah.
I should go to the catacombs and see what we can find there.
Yeah.
Okay. Heading to the catacombs isn't far. It's a few blocks. The catacombs themselves are a tourist spot. They're open fairly regularly. They're not open on certain days, but when you guys arrive in the morning-ish, late morning, there's a line of people waiting to go in. The nice part about the catacombs walk is that after an exceedingly long walk down a flight of stairs, it opens up into something that is lit. There are a few people around. It is awe-inspiring in its nature, the way it was built. There's all sorts of skulls and bones placed in intricate positions to make up staircases, to make up walls. It's almost as if you've walked into the land of the dead. In fact, in pretty striking French text, it says, "Welcome to the Empire of the Dead," when you arrive. And you walk through two massive white diamonds that kind of sit aside the entrance there.
I have never been in catacombs before, but this is the closest I assume that I will ever become to an ossuary. This is amazing. Doc gets lost for a moment or two just examining bones on the walls.
Oh, yeah, I mean, it's...
Just so you know, it's quite possible to run into an ossuary sometime in our...
Yes, I suppose it probably would. It would not be out of our wheelhouse.
So while you're down there, I guess, what are you looking for?
In general, I wanted to get more of a layout of the area around it so we could try to find something. But we're down here, we might as well take the tour.
Yeah, you take the tour. It's easily gettable. It's not too terribly expensive. You take the tour of the catacombs. They walk you through some of the history of how they came about, why they came about. You get walked through the revolutionary period in Paris here, as far as there were some revolutionaries that used this as a hiding spot. They talk all sorts of tales about it being a revolutionary spot to this day. There are some tour guides who seem to intimate that the Paris catacombs are not the quietest place at night, and that there's all sorts of potential spirits and those that have left the land of the living that still walk the halls here at night.
I raise a hand when the tour guide is talking. I'm perhaps a bit macabre, but is there anywhere that even you guides are afraid to go here in the catacombs? For fears of just like that?
There are parts of the catacombs that flood. And so we must be very careful during some parts of the seasons here to not wander our guests down into a place where it might get a little too wet.
Wunderbar.
And you can see throughout the tour here, there are smaller non-walked paths here that the tours do not go down. And they even have signage that, that says no trespassing or no entrance. And some of these areas, some of the hallways have been filled 3 and 4 feet deep, they say, with water.
Okay. Like you'd have to go down waist or even chest deep to get to it. Okay.
Yeah. And there are some paths that the tour guides say that they have been flooded for years and we no longer take them.
I raise my hand for the tour guide.
Me?
Hi. So, are there any old wives' tales or stories about creatures that roam the catacombs, like in the past?
She looks at you, Miss Lane, and the tour guide says, there are stories that the spirits that walk these halls, that even at night they come to life, but these are just stories, of course.
Like, is there anything that like that might look like a creature or anything? Like, I don't know, sprites, or fairies or wolves.
Well, there's a very long and well-known history of the vampires of Paris.
And where did that, in the catacombs?
Well, it's rumored that they have used the catacombs for years as a hiding spot. They hide in places we can no longer go because of floods or collapsed walls.
That's very interesting. Thanks for the information.
Your tour lasts probably half an hour to 45 minutes. It's an inspiring place. It's macabre, of course. But to see what's been done, the artistry that's been done down here, is definitely part of what makes it great.
Doc probably comes out of the catacombs a little geeked out. Did you see that archway made of leg bones? That was amazing. And the way they were woven together, it was... Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize.
Probably it's probably afternoon. You'll have lunch, I would imagine. All that walking will build up an appetite. So let's bookmark day 2 in Paris then. You are going to spend the evening then with Alexandra after reading the scroll.
Correct.
Okay. She continues to educate you in Aklo. And you go over several different forms of that written language. She then begins to show you how it can be enunciated properly. And she reminds you, as she did the previous night, that it's a language meant to be used in secret. It's not to be taught outside of those who are favored by Yig. And furthermore, it would be good if you would begin to use it in its written form to hide Yig's teachings from the eyes of others.
Okay.
Just as the Arab scribes did centuries ago for those who did not speak their tongue, and just as she seems to make some sort of intonation with her lips and tongue. It's not a word you understand, but she seems to name another species, just as they did as well. You begin to pick up a great many things. She's quite the teacher, as you've already encountered before. Her 2 bodyguards seem more like servants than employees. I'll just put it that way.
Okay.
They seem to wait on her as necessary, but she seems very independent.
So, more like they worship her? Do they look at her in adoration, or...?
Maybe there's a bit of that. Not full-on doe-eye creepiness, but they do... It's almost as if it's the same reverence that you would say a church has for its deacon or priest. There's some sort of a respect and a appreciation that goes beyond simple friendship or employment. And so that winds us down for the second day of Paris. I don't know that the 3 of you see much of Miss O'Shea the first couple of days.
Probably not.
It's hard to say where she's at or what she's doing. Doctor, your patient by the end of day 2 is taking to his teachings and your teachings and the administration of your medicinal needs, although you're fairly certain that you're going to be able to completely rebuild him shortly. It may take a little bit longer, but you're getting through.
We are on the cusp of a breakthrough. I can feel it.
So if you are enjoying this episode and the previous episodes of Masks of Nyarlathotep brought to you by the Old Ways podcast, we would encourage you to join us on Patreon. It's patreon.com/the Old Ways podcast. You can join a ton of our other backers there who truly enjoy supporting such a fantastic show, if I might say so myself. And with that, we will see you next week.